What if the real reason people are having heart attacks isn't what you've been told for years? You check your cholesterol, avoid butter, maybe even take medication, yet your risk could still be climbing every single day. Cardiologists are now warning about one common food hiding in kitchens, restaurants, and even healthy snacks that may damage your arteries faster than cholesterol itself. The scary part is, millions of people eat it daily without realizing the danger. If you think you're making safe choices for your heart, this video may completely change the way you look at food, labels, and your next meal forever starting today. For decades, cholesterol has taken most of the blame for heart disease. But many cardiologists now believe another dietary culprit may be causing even more silent damage. In this video, we uncover the food raising serious concerns among heart experts worldwide. For years, you've probably heard the same warning repeated over and over again: watch your cholesterol. Doctors mentioned it during checkups. Food commercials promoted local cholesterol products like they were lifesavers. Grocery stores filled entire aisles with labels screaming heart healthy, low fat, and cholesterol free. And slowly, without even realizing it, millions of people began believing one dangerous idea: that cholesterol alone is the main reason people suffer heart attacks. But what if that belief is incomplete? What if one of the biggest threats to your heart is something most people eat every single day while thinking it's harmless or even healthy? Cardiologists around the world have started sounding the alarm about a hidden dietary danger that may be causing chronic inflammation inside the body, silently damaging blood vessels long before symptoms appear. Unlike cholesterol, this threat doesn't always show up clearly on standard blood tests. It works quietly, slowly, and often invisibly. And by the time many people discover the damage, it's already too late. Here's what makes this so disturbing. Some people who suffer heart attacks don't even have extremely high cholesterol levels. In fact, hospitals have reported cases where patients appeared relatively healthy on paper. They exercised. They avoided greasy foods. Some even maintained decent cholesterol numbers. Yet they still ended up facing blocked arteries, chest pain, emergency surgeries, or worse. That forced many heart specialists to ask a difficult question. If cholesterol is under control, why are heart attacks still happening at such terrifying rates? The answer may lie in inflammation. Think of your arteries like smooth pipes carrying blood throughout your body. When those artery walls become irritated repeatedly over time, tiny injuries can begin forming inside them. Your body reacts by trying to repair the damage, but this process can create plaque buildup, narrowing the arteries and increasing the risk of dangerous clots. Now here's the shocking part. Certain foods may trigger this inflammatory response constantly, day after day, meal after meal. And unlike obvious junk food, these products often wear a disguise. Many are marketed as convenient, low-fat, sugar-free, or even fitness-friendly. Bright packaging, healthy buzzwords, and misleading advertising make people feel safe while consuming ingredients that some experts believe are putting enormous stress on the cardiovascular system. You may already have these foods sitting in your kitchen right now. What's even more concerning is how modern diets have changed over the past few decades. People today eat far more processed foods than previous generations ever did. Fast meals, packaged snacks, flavored drinks, frozen dinners, and ultra-processed ingredients have become part of everyday life. The problem isn't just occasional consumption. It's the non-stop exposure. Your body was never designed to handle constant chemical additives, heavily refined oils, artificial flavor enhancers, and industrial processing methods at every meal. Over time, these substances may contribute to inflammation that quietly weakens the heart and blood vessels. And the effects don't happen overnight. That's why so many people miss the warning signs. You don't wake up one morning suddenly feeling your arteries clogging. Instead, the damage builds slowly for years while energy levels decline, blood pressure rises, circulation worsens, and inflammation spreads throughout the body. Then one day, without warning, everything changes. A sharp chest pain, a racing heartbeat, a terrifying trip to the emergency room. For many families, the first symptom of heart disease is the heart attack itself. That's exactly why this conversation matters. Because prevention is no longer just about avoiding fatty foods or counting cholesterol numbers. Many cardiologists now believe the real focus should be reducing chronic inflammation and identifying the foods most responsible for triggering it. And one particular category of food keeps appearing in these discussions again and again. Highly processed industrial foods. These products are engineered for shelf life, convenience, and addiction, like cravings. They're often loaded with refined sugars, damaged fats, excess sodium, preservatives, and artificial ingredients designed to make you keep eating. The scary truth. Some experts believe these foods may create a perfect storm inside the body, raising inflammation, disrupting blood sugar, increasing blood pressure, and contributing to artery damage all at the same time, and because they're everywhere, most people never suspect them. Children eat them at school. Adults grab them during busy workdays. Families rely on them for quick dinners. Entire generations have grown up believing these products are normal. But normal doesn't always mean safe. In the next chapter, we're going to uncover the specific ingredient many cardiologists are now pointing at as one of the biggest hidden threats to heart health, and why it may be far more dangerous than most people realize. So, what is this hidden food danger that some cardiologists believe is fueling inflammation and increasing heart attack risk across the world? It's not butter, it's not eggs, and surprisingly, it's not natural cholesterol found in whole foods. The growing concern centers around ultra-processed seed oils and heavily refined industrial fats, hidden inside modern packaged foods. You've probably consumed them today without even noticing. These oils are everywhere. Fast food, chips, crackers, frozen meals, salad dressings, protein bars, baked goods, restaurant foods, sauces, and even products advertised as heart-healthy. The most common include soybean oil, corn oil, sunflower oil, canola oil, and cottonseed oil. Now, before anyone panics, the issue isn't simply that these oils exist. The controversy comes from how they are processed, heated, reused, and consumed in massive quantities in modern diets. Decades ago, people consumed these oils in relatively small amounts. Today, they dominate processed food production because they're cheap, versatile, and profitable for manufacturers. But some heart experts argue that excessive intake may be creating dangerous levels of inflammation inside the body. Here's why this matters. Many of these oils are extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids. Your body needs some omega-6 fats to function properly, but balance is everything. Historically, humans consumed omega-3 and omega-6 fats in much healthier proportions. Modern diets changed that dramatically. Today, some researchers estimate people consume far more omega-6 fats than omega-3s, creating an imbalance that may contribute to chronic inflammation over time. And inflammation is becoming one of the biggest suspects in cardiovascular disease. Imagine constantly scratching the same wound every single day. It never fully heals because irritation keeps returning. That's similar to how chronic inflammation may affect blood vessels. Instead of smooth, flexible arteries, the body experiences repeated stress that can slowly damage the cardiovascular system. But there's another disturbing layer to this story. These oils are often exposed to extremely high temperatures during manufacturing and cooking. Fast food fryers may heat the same oil repeatedly for hours or even days. When certain oils are overheated, they can produce harmful compounds linked to oxidative stress in the body. Oxidative stress is like internal rusting. It damages cells, weakens tissues, and may accelerate aging inside the arteries themselves. Some cardiologists now worry that the combination of inflammation and oxidative stress creates the perfect environment for plaque buildup and heart disease progression. And here's the twist most people never expect. Many foods promoted as low cholesterol are packed with these industrial oils. That means people trying to protect their hearts may unknowingly replace traditional foods with highly processed alternatives that create entirely different health problems. Think about that for a moment. A person removes eggs and natural fats from breakfast, then eats a packaged loaf at snack loaded with refined oils and additives instead. They believe they're making a healthier choice because the label says heart smart. But labels can be deceptive. Food marketing often focuses on one number while ignoring the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is becoming impossible to ignore. Rates of obesity, metabolic disease, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular problems have exploded during the same decades. Ultra-processed food consumption skyrocketed. While many factors contribute to heart disease, more experts are beginning to question whether industrialized diets are doing far more damage than previously believed. This doesn't mean every seed oil instantly causes heart attacks. That's important to understand. The real concern is overconsumption, processing methods, repeated heating, and the overwhelming presence of these oils in nearly every processed product people eat daily. Your body can usually handle occasional stress, but non-stop exposure is different, and most people aren't just eating these oils occasionally. They're consuming them breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks in between. That's when the risk may begin adding up silently. What makes this even more dangerous is how invisible the damage feels in the beginning. You don't immediately notice inflammation building inside arteries. There's no alarm bell warning you after a fast food meal or packaged snack. The consequences arrive slowly. Fatigue becomes normal, blood pressure creeps upward, weight becomes harder to control, energy crashes appear more often. And beneath the surface, the cardiovascular system may be under constant stress. Some cardiologists now say one of the smartest things people can do is return to simpler, less processed foods. Not because every modern ingredient is evil, but because the human body functions better when it recognizes what it's eating. Real foods spoil faster, processed foods last longer, and that difference alone should make people ask questions. Because the closer food is to its natural state, the less likely it has been chemically altered, industrially refined, or overloaded with additives your body struggles to process. In the next chapter, we'll uncover why millions of people with normal cholesterol numbers still end up suffering heart attacks, and the hidden warning signs many doctors now believe matter far more. One of the most dangerous assumptions people make is believing they're safe simply because their cholesterol numbers look normal. For years, cholesterol became the main scoreboard for heart health. If the numbers were high, people worried. If the numbers looked acceptable, many assumed everything was fine. But reality is far more complicated. Every year, hospitals admit heart attack patients whose cholesterol levels were never considered dangerously high. Some exercised regularly, some avoided traditional unhealthy foods, others followed low-fat diets for years. Yet somehow, heart disease still found them. That shocking pattern forced many cardiologists to rethink the entire conversation around cardiovascular risk. Because heart attacks are not caused by one single factor. They're usually the result of multiple hidden problems building silently over time. And one of the biggest overlooked issues is metabolic damage. Here's what many people never hear. Your heart doesn't only respond to cholesterol. It also reacts to blood sugar spikes, insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, stress hormones, high blood pressure, poor sleep, smoking, obesity, and processed food overload. These factors interact with each other like dominoes. When one gets worse, the others often follow. For example, constantly eating ultra-processed foods can lead to unstable blood sugar levels. Over time, the body may become less sensitive to insulin, forcing it to work harder and harder to manage glucose. This condition, known as insulin resistance, is becoming incredibly common worldwide, and many experts believe it plays a major role in heart disease. Why? Because insulin resistance doesn't just affect blood sugar. It may also increase inflammation, raise triglycerides, worsen blood pressure, encourage fat storage around organs, and damage blood vessels. In some cases, people can appear relatively healthy on the outside while dangerous internal damage quietly develops. That's why some cardiologists now focus less on cholesterol alone and more on overall metabolic health. And the warning signs can appear much earlier than most people realize. Constant fatigue after meals, strong sugar cravings, stubborn belly fat, energy crashes during the day, brain fog, poor sleep, frequent hunger even after eating. These symptoms are often dismissed as normal modern life, but they may actually signal deeper metabolic problems that place enormous strain on the heart over time. And now here's where things become even more alarming. Some processed foods are specifically designed to keep you overeating. Scientists call this hyperpalatability. Food manufacturers carefully engineer combinations of sugar, salt, refined oils, and artificial flavor enhancers to create products that are extremely difficult to resist. Your brain lights up with pleasure signals, cravings intensify, portion control becomes harder, and before you realize it, your body is trapped in a cycle of constant overeating and inflammation. This isn't just about willpower. Modern processed foods are intentionally built to override natural fullness signals. That means many people blaming themselves for poor eating habits are fighting against products scientifically designed to keep them consuming more. And unfortunately, the cardiovascular system pays the price. Over time, excessive processed food intake may contribute to weight gain, artery stiffness, rising blood pressure, and increased strain on the heart muscle itself. Meanwhile, someone might still proudly say, "But my cholesterol is okay." That's the illusion. Normal cholesterol numbers do not automatically mean your arteries are healthy. In fact, some experts now argue that inflammation markers, insulin resistance, triglyceride levels, waist circumference, and blood sugar control may reveal cardiovascular danger earlier than cholesterol alone. Think about it like this. If smoke is filling a house, focusing on one window doesn't solve the fire. You must look at the entire structure. That's exactly what modern heart research is beginning to show. The body works as an interconnected system, not isolated numbers on a lab report. And when the entire system becomes overloaded with processed foods, stress, poor sleep, inactivity, and metabolic dysfunction, the heart suffers silently in ways many people never expect. But perhaps the scariest part of all is how normalized this lifestyle has become. People are exhausted all the time. They snack constantly. They survive on convenience foods. They sleep less, stress more, move less, and many assume this is simply adulthood. Meanwhile, cardiovascular disease continues rising across the globe. That's why more cardiologists are urging patients to stop chasing quick fixes and start paying attention to daily habits that quietly shape long-term heart health. Not just cholesterol, not just calories, but inflammation, metabolic balance, food quality, sleep, stress, and overall lifestyle patterns. Because the heart responds to everything you repeatedly do, not just one blood test result. And in the final chapter, we'll uncover the surprising habits many cardiologists personally follow to protect their own hearts, and why some of them completely avoid foods most people still eat every day. After spending years treating heart attack patients, many cardiologists begin changing their own lifestyles in ways that surprise people. Not because they discovered a miracle cure, but because they've seen firsthand what repeated damage does to the human heart. They've watched patients arrive in emergency rooms terrified, gasping for breath, shocked that it happened to them. They've spoken to families after sudden cardiac events. They've studied artery scans, blood work, inflammation markers, and lifestyle patterns for decades. And many eventually reach the same conclusion. Heart disease rarely comes from one single meal. It comes from repeated habits that slowly push the body toward inflammation, metabolic dysfunction, and vascular damage over time. That's why many cardiologists now focus less on strict dieting trends and more on sustainable daily behaviors that reduce chronic stress on the heart. And interestingly, some of their personal habits are much simpler than people expect. One major change many experts recommend is reducing ultra-processed food intake as much as possible. Not obsessively, not perfectly, but consistently. Instead of relying on packaged meals filled with industrial ingredients, many heart specialists prefer foods closer to their natural form: vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, fish, eggs, and minimally processed proteins. Why? Because whole foods typically contain fewer additives, less chemical processing, and more nutrients the body recognizes and uses efficiently. In simple terms, the body tends to perform better when food still resembles actual food. Another habit many cardiologists prioritize is controlling blood sugar spikes. This surprises people because most assume heart disease is only about fat. But unstable blood sugar may place enormous strain on blood vessels over time. Repeated glucose spikes can contribute to inflammation, oxidative stress, and metabolic dysfunction that quietly damages the cardiovascular system. That's why many experts encourage reducing excessive sugary drinks, processed snacks, and refined carbohydrates that flood the bloodstream too quickly. And here's something even more surprising. Many cardiologists care deeply about sleep. Because poor sleep doesn't just cause tiredness, it can increase stress hormones, raise blood pressure, disrupt metabolism, and worsen inflammation throughout the body. Studies have repeatedly linked chronic sleep deprivation to higher cardiovascular risk. Yet, millions of people treat exhaustion like a badge of honor, while their bodies silently suffer the consequences. Think about modern life for a moment. People stay awake late scrolling on phones. They wake up stressed, rush through meals, sit for hours, consume processed convenience foods, and repeat the cycle every day. The human heart was never designed for nonstop stress without recovery. That's another reason movement matters so much. Not extreme workouts, not punishment, just regular movement. Walking, stretching, gardening, cycling, or even simple daily activity helps circulation, improves blood sugar control, lowers stress, and strengthens the cardiovascular system naturally. Some cardiologists even say consistent walking may be one of the most underrated heart protection habits available. And unlike expensive health trends, it costs nothing. But perhaps the most overlooked factor of all is chronic stress itself. When the body stays trapped in constant stress mode, hormones like cortisol and adrenaline remain elevated for long periods. Over time, this may contribute to higher blood pressure, inflammation, emotional eating, poor sleep, and increased strain on the heart. In other words, emotional health and heart health are deeply connected. That's why many experts now encourage practices that calm the nervous system, spending time outdoors, strengthening relationships, reducing toxic stress, practicing mindfulness, or simply slowing down enough to let the body recover. Because a constantly overloaded body eventually begins breaking down. Now here's the important part. This conversation isn't about fear. It's about awareness. No single food automatically guarantees a heart attack. And no perfect diet can make someone completely invincible. Genetics, age, environment, and lifestyle all play important roles. But what many cardiologists are trying to explain is this. Modern processed diets may be creating levels of inflammation and metabolic stress the human body struggles to handle long-term, and ignoring that possibility could be dangerous. The encouraging news is that the heart responds remarkably well to positive changes. Even small improvements repeated consistently can make a meaningful difference over time. Choosing less processed meals, sleeping better, walking more, managing stress, reducing excessive sugar and industrial foods. These habits may seem simple, but together they create an environment where the heart has a better chance to thrive instead of constantly fighting damage. And maybe that's the biggest lesson of all. Real heart protection isn't hidden inside a magic pill or trendy label. It's built quietly through the choices you repeat every single day. Because the foods you eat today don't just affect your weight or energy. They may shape the future of your heart itself.